bestie. Nothing like working with your bestie. No negative vibe, it's a pet peeve. We air at 5 PST. Got purpose, no worthless. With the black girl magic surface. Got a cap and aqua working. No cap, they always working. And they make you evolve as a person. Don't like work more than a Birkin. I too better raise that curtain. Play back if you have a curfew. And the vibe, we live in the sky, on the airwaves. You and I make up unify. Let's have brunch while we crunch and have tears in our eyes. Open up, we don't ever have too much pride. We a trip and we always acting up. We outside, we look good. It ain't all about the looks. It's our mind and our friendship. Gotta love our friendship. Haters try to end this. They found out we endless. Yeah, that's cool. Catch us out one day. Check us out one day. Catch us on Monday. Catch us on Monday. Yo.
Welcome to Brunch with Besties.
Hey.
I am Sherry Renee.
Hey, and I'm Chanel.
Our mission is to heal and help others as we heal and help ourselves through purpose-driven conversations.
Yep.
Today we have a special guest here with us. We have my mommy here. Say hey, mommy.
Hey.
It's your mom's birthday. Burr, 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 burr.
Birthday. Hey, they probably have that sound there. Well, we
I
don't.
know. I'm sure we do. So Mom and I are actually in LA recording from the home office, the HQ. There's lots of buttons here, so I'm sure that it's one of these. But I'm scared to touch anything.
Right.
You know?
Don't touch nothing.
Their setup is much fancier than our Chanel, so I don't trust me.
Yeah. Don't touch.
Today I'm not pushing any buttons. I don't know if you hear Keith in here, Chanel, but he's walked in talking about some push the button.
Oh, don't push the button.
We're not pushing the button. I don't trust it. But today we're going to talk about toxic forgiveness. Yes. But before we get into that, we're going to start like we always do with a toast. So Bestie, I will start with you. Who are you toasting to today? And Mom, I will come to you next. So make sure that you have toast.
That is funny. I don't know who I'm gonna give. I'm gonna give my toast to taking the day off of doing nothing because I needed a much needed break. So that's who's gonna get my toast. I'm really not prepared at all, but yep, that's who's gonna get my toast today.
Off day?
Off day, yes.
Off duty, logged out.
Yes, that was
Out
me.
of the office.
All day, yes.
No school today, or you just took off?
I just took off today.
Okay, cool. Me too.
Yes. I wish I was in LA too, but hey, it's okay. Just off day.
It's all right. Okay. Listen, shouts out to taking time for you.
Oh, indeed.
All right, Mother. Who or what does your toast go to today?
I am toasting my birthday today.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes, and I'm toasting being in Los Angeles, California for the first time. I'm enjoying it. I'm thankful, grateful. That's who my toast is going to today.
All righty.
Oh, man, that's a good one.
Right. Indeed.
All right. Last but certainly not least, who you give me a toast to?
I'm going to toast to Mommy's birthday, to her LA trip. Happy birthday, Mom. Burr, 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 burr. Can't figure out how old Mama is, but however old y'all think she is, double it, you know.
Aging like fine wine. That's all. Fine. The finest one. Okay.
Indeed.
Yes.
I have to say that because, you know, people are, how old is your mama? And I'm like, old enough to be your mama. How about that?
Period.
Old enough to be your mama.
Listen.
Always remember. Okay, so let's break bread. Let's check in and see how we are doing. So, Bestie, I will start with you. How you be?
I'm good. This weekend was good. Got to spend some time with my mom, my sister, and her kids. They came over, did some trick-or-treating at my house. So it was a fun, restful weekend. I didn't do much of anything. Went shopping, cleaned up my house, did laundry, stuff like that. Stuff that I needed to catch up on since I've been working like a Hebrew slave. So yeah, that is all I did.
I understand. That's good.
Yes. Yeah.
And Mother, how are you?
I'm good. I took some time off as well. Wednesday was my last day at work. Like she said, I'm a hard worker, so I was glad to have some time off. I was excited about my birthday.
Hey.
We left on Saturday. So I spent 2 days preparing for my trip, doing laundry, the necessities that you have to do to prepare for a trip, but it's nice to be off work. So,
Amen.
Indeed, indeed.
Yes.
Yes, and I am doing well. I have this like lingering cough situation that's going on.
Oh
I don't
no.
know how to get rid of that. So, but you know, despite its best efforts to keep me down, I'm still here.
Okay, geez.
So I'm
Oh,
glad. So, me and mom have had a packed little trip so far. So we were able today we went to the Warner Brothers studio and got to see some amazing sets. And they were actually doing some live filming, so I couldn't take video and stuff of everything that I wanted to. But we did get to see the Jennifer Hudson set, which was pretty awesome and which mom is a big fan of. Got to see a lot of the behind the scenes and um a lot of the sets that they used for like Friends and for Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, just and they talked about how they have an open policy so anybody can kind of come and use their set. So it was really cool. And of course, the best part was I got to do the Friends experience. So
yay. I'm glad.
her favorite
yes,
show.
I
Right.
know.
Check off your bucket list.
So
Yes.
I lost my mind. I was like, "Oh my god, Friends?" I don't know why I didn't think about it when I was coming. I was just like, "Oh, let's book some tours." But yes, it was everything that I imagined. I was like, "Oh my god, that's Joey's living room. Oh my god, this is Monica's living room. Oh my goodness, this is the cafe, Central Perk." Yes. And then, the fountain, the couch. They were
Oh,
like, "Oh, this is where Phoebe ran. This is where this happened. This was this apartment." And I was like, "Oh my god." So, I was in love.
yeah, listen, you was like, I know, because I watched all the episodes.
All of them, okay?
Right.
Every episode, all of them. And then, yesterday we did an all-day tour, so we got to go to, like, Venice Beach and, Santa Monica Pier, Beverly Hills, 90210.
Okay.
We got to see all the things and do all the things, so mama been wearing me out. I'm telling that's what it is. This is a call for help. No, I'm playing.
I am tired.
Tired, okay?
It's all good.
Yes.
So turn up.
Turn up.
There we go. I love it.
Yes. And now we can get right into the topic so we can get into tea time. Um, Toxic forgiveness.
Yeah.
Don't know if anyone's ever heard of that term.
No, I know.
No.
I
Mom,
have.
have you ever heard of it?
I have not.
So, I actually saw it on Red Table Talk. So that's Jada Pickett's show. And it was actually a post that came before the actual episode, but it says toxic forgiveness is an unhealthy way that people pretend to be unharmed over it or forgetful of the offense. Forgiving to keep the peace or people pleasing is not healthy for your mental health or your relationship.
Mhm.
And so it just made me think like, okay, is that what we be doing? When we say that we need to forgive and all of that, is it toxic, in the how? Or are we actually like processing and healing? So I thought it'd be a good topic of discussion.
Yeah. No, it is good. I didn't know there was a term for it. So I guess that's great that people are becoming more aware of things in the past that we've just done. Because it's like, oh, well, this is just what we do. But now, like naming it and giving it like real cause is to be like, okay, now let me think back. Like, am I forgiving in more healthy ways? Because based off that definition, I'm definitely a toxic forgiver. Like, I just be like, all right, I don't care. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in some situations I am too, right? Where it's just like, all right, I'm supposed to forgive. So let's do that.
Yeah,
Right.
and be done. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's interesting that there's a whole thing about it, because I do think people do need to recognize, because if you're not really going to forgive and you're just kind of like forgiving to forget, then like we've talked about in so many episodes, stuff just has a way of coming back. Those tables always turn, the cycle always returns, whatever you want to call it, but it's going to come back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
Mhm.
So, mom, what is your like process to forgive? Like, how do you forgive?
Well, for one thing, I think that, well, the Bible tells us we have to forgive because we want God to forgive us. So I think if you're going to forgive someone for something, I think you should be sincere about it. But I don't exactly know what that means, being sincere about it, because some situations are truly hard to forgive. Some things I've experienced are hard to forgive. And I think with me, when it's something or someone I need to forgive, when I know that just say for an example, if they apologize to me for what they did and I know that they're sincere, it's easy for me,
Mhm.
because I'm like, this person recognizes what they did or what they said. They are asking for my apology, or, they're letting me know, hey, I'm sorry. Then I know that in that event or that situation, I need to forgive them as well because I've made mistakes and I want people to forgive me.
Mhm.
But then there's some situations where people won't acknowledge that they've done something wrong, or they don't want to apologize for what they've done wrong. And those situations for me are hard. Um, I think that for me, I forgive them because I know that's what God wants me to do. But then I know there is another part of me that I don't like what they did. I don't like what they said or whatever. But I don't know if I'm like really truly forgiving them or not. Like, am I
Right.
going through a phase, or am I just doing this because I know this is what I'm supposed to do? And then I question myself too. My question to myself sometimes is, do I really forgive that person?
Right.
Because, you know, they never said that they were sorry, but I know that I have to forgive them because that's the right thing to do. So I kind of wonder sometimes, how do you know, or how do you feel when you forgive someone that hasn't even apologized to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Chanel, do you have any thoughts on like how do you know when you have forgiven someone?
Um, so yeah, I think I feel the same way. A lot of what Mama Barbara just said, but I think for me it's hard because sometimes it's hard for me to sometimes forgive myself and going through that process of what that looks like. So when it comes to forgiving other people, I'm just like, okay, like, go. Or even if they hadn't said the words like, I'm sorry, or I apologize for X, Y, and Z, I'm still like, okay, I forgive them because I think Mama Barbara said it like that's what we were taught to do. That's what you're
Yeah.
supposed to do. That's what the Bible tells us to do. So it's just like it's this kind of automatic thing, like you feel like you have to. Um, and it is really difficult for me because again, I'm the type of person where I really bury a lot of my own feelings, and like I said, it's really hard for me to forgive myself. Like I'll just keep bringing it up or keep thinking about it. Like, oh my god. And I'll do that with people too. Like it'll just be random. Like, oh, I remember, this happened to me, or they did this to me, or they said this to me. And it's just like, really? Like, and then I go back to like that what we talked about on a couple episodes past of like just get over it and keep going. But it's just like I need to sit with it. So I think this is something right now that I need to still process what this is and what it looks like for me at this point. So I don't even have an answer because I'm still trying to work through this myself.
So, at one point I had read that forgiveness was you don't resent people, like you don't I'm sorry. That forgiveness was you don't wish any harm on that person and that you it said something to the effect of like you don't want to get even with them. And I was like, "Oh, I rarely want to get even with people. Like even if they do me wrong, I don't want to see them hurt. I don't
Right.
want to see them suffer. So you're forgiven, right?
Yeah.
I'm still hurt, right? I'm hurt, but I don't wish this on you, right? Or I don't want to get back at you because vengeance belongs to the Lord, right? And he
Mhm.
going to get you way worse than I ever could. And
Mhm.
I don't have time to sow bad seeds. Okay, I have enough things popping up in my life. Don't have time for me to sow my own bad seeds.
Not
Um,
at all.
so initially I was like, okay, I think I do forgive like easily because I don't have that ill will towards people. But then later I was like, no, I don't think you do because you wish that things were different. So I
Mhm.
kind of came up with my own definition where it was I accept what happened. I don't wish things were different, and I'm choosing to learn from it.
Mm.
Right. So like that's my definition of forgiveness. Not saying that that is the lay of the land for anyone else, but that was my way because I just felt like the other one, maybe I'm just not a resentful person, right? Maybe I just don't want to, I'm just not spiteful. I don't do the tit for tat. That's just not me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you're not holding on to something, right? So I had to kind of come up with my own definition. And I think for me, usually if I can follow the person's reasoning or logic, like, oh, you miscalculated something, or oh, you were looking at it from this perspective, or oh, you just didn't consider that, then I can say, like, it's easy to be like, oh, I forgive you. Where it gets difficult is where you actually do feel like the person was malicious, right? Where you actually do feel like they were mocking you or laughing at your pain or your misery. That's where things get a bit sticky for me because, and I said this before too, is that a lot of times I miscalculate and think that they're going to do the way that I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's where it gets hard. And I also struggle to forgive myself in certain situations where I feel like you did know better. You saying that you didn't, but you really did because all the facts are right there. Right. Here's all the evidence that you actually did know. And you're pretending, you're using the I didn't know as a scapegoat. And it actually is one of my like biggest pet peeves when people feign ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that they absolutely know. Like it pisses me off to a level that you wouldn't believe. But it also pisses me off when I do it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I make myself accountable and say, no, you did know. Because here, you see this right here? This is evidence that you knew. This over here, also evidence that you knew. So where's the accountability? And last night I was watching Married to Medicine and they were doing their reunion. And one of the ladies was talking about how this lady said, was spreading rumors about her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, the other lady was like, you're right, I was. And she was like, and I apologize. And she was like, I did mean it. I did say it. I did mean it. I did it on purpose. I did it to hurt you. And I did it because I was hurt. Right. And to me, it's so much easier when people own it.
Yeah.
Say it that way because I honor truth. But when people are like, oh, I swear I didn't mean to. And it's like, really? So you thought that it was kind to do this? You that's your definition of kindness, right? Like to me, it's just easier. Like if I were the other woman, I could be like, man, I forgive you. I've been hurt. I'm not gonna go. I don't react that way, but I see why you did. Like I can follow. It kind of fits into my original pattern of what's easy for me to forgive, right? It's like when I can follow your train of thought, where I can see how you got there. But when people are like, oh no, I swear I didn't mean it or I didn't know. And I'm like, but you really did. Just be like, I did. I was being careless. I was hurting. I wanted to hurt you. I was mad because blah, 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 so we can deal with the real issue. We ain't gonna never, because to me, when it's always the, oh, I didn't know, or I didn't this and I didn't that, and I know that that's not true, I know that this is going to happen again. And I can't, especially if I've already let you off the hook for you didn't know, child, that line is running out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that also kind of reminds me of like, well, I work with kids. So just when kids have to apologize, like making sure that they understand, like, okay, well, what do you need to say? Then they'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, what are you sorry for? And for most times they're like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it because you told me to say it. But having them kind of process, and that's something that adults can get in the habit of doing as well, like processing why you are apologizing. And if you don't know, then you need to do some work to figure out like, what is your part in this? What part did you play in, hurting somebody or hurting their feelings or whatever the case may be, that you need to do some work to understand the why. Because if you're apologizing, you're just doing it just to say some words, like there's no intentionality to it. There's no further work. There's no like, okay, I want to stop this behavior. Then it like doesn't mean anything. So yeah, like the example you just gave with the Married to Medicine, like that is, yeah, like I said what I said, I meant it, and I said it because I was hurting as well. Like that's like, okay, now, I mean, I don't like that you did that to me, like Sarah said, but I get it. Like, okay, I've been hurt too. Like
you owned it.
I owned it. Yeah.
right?
Like you had to own
You
it.
own it, you are accountable to it, right?
Yes.
You know?
Yep. Yep.
And that's why I was like, because I was thinking, like, dang, she was over there spreading rumors, doing this and doing that. Like, geez. But she owned all of it. And I'm like, and if nothing else, you can respect them,
yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like, I still don't like what you did, but I respect you because you're going to stand and own your truth and be like, yeah, it was dirty, it was nasty. And I was dirty and nasty. Okay.
Yeah.
I meant it.
And I said what I said.
I said what I said, and it was wrong.
That's the part. Yeah. No, that's good. You have to be in that. And that's
I think a lot of people try to excuse their behavior. They like everyone's always kind of looking for a scapegoat. Well, I only did this because of this. Because you know, I would never.
Yeah.
Me, because I'm good and pure. So I would never. I only did this because of that. But it's like, no, sometimes we know better and we choose wrong. Right?
So
You knew better, you chose wrong.
That's it. That's the whole part. And that's a part of like this healing journey and growth and the growth mindset and all of that, of just knowing when you are wrong and being accountable. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with forgiveness. Like there has to be some accountability piece in there. And if you're not willing to be accountable, then the apology don't mean nothing to me. Like it's just words, and words don't really mean nothing without the action and the accountability behind it.
Right, exactly. One of the things they were talking about on Red Table Talk is that forgiveness is a process. And a lot of times we want people to forgive us and we get upset when they don't. We're like, well, I apologized. So we're done here, right? Like you should be over it. And it's like, yeah, you apologize, but forgiveness is a process and you don't get to tell me how long it takes me to get to the level or get to the place where I'm ready to be done with it.
Yeah.
And I think it also depends on what the impact is, right? So it's like a lot of times if people apologize and the impact isn't really there, it probably is quicker to get to forgiveness because you don't have to clean up anything.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like, all right. But then if there is, and it's like, now you got to go heal. And then you pissed because you're like, first of all, I was busy doing something else. Now I got to go stop and go heal because of this.
How did I get here again?
But you sorry.
Right.
So I should be done.
And everybody's healing process is different. And some can take years, depending on the circumstances. So, yeah.
Yes. Years and years, and then years on top of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And some things people can do that you will forgive them, but unfortunately, you don't want to even deal with them anymore. I mean, some situations can be very severe. And you will go through your healing process. You will forgive them, but you figure this is not a relationship I want to continue to be in. And you have forgave them, but you still just don't want to deal with them anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of times people think that forgiveness and reconciliation are one and the same. And they're not. And a lot of people will tell you that because you chose not to reconcile, that you have not forgiven.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true. Like I could forgive you and not want anything to do with you. Like those things are not the same. Like I don't have to. And that's for my own healing. Like you all just said, like if that's a part of my healing process, like I need to put you over here. I can't be bothered with you no more. I need to break off this relationship in whatever capacity is that it is. Then that's for me. That's what I need to do for myself. And that's okay.
Right. And I think too, a lot of people think that if you choose not to reconcile, that you're doing it to get back at them. It's like you're doing it to teach them a lesson instead of them realizing like, no, I'm choosing not to reconcile because I learned my lesson. Right.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to teach you a lesson by not getting back in whatever it was with you. I've learned my lesson and I'm determined not to repeat it.
Yeah.
And as a part of my healing journey, it requires me to sever this relationship.
Right.
Otherwise, I have not evolved. I have not healed because I'm gonna be right back in the same pattern.
And then there's that accountability piece that I have for myself. Like I'm not being accountable for myself and my feelings and my well-being. Like I can't put you and your feelings and your needs over my own. Like that's just not gonna work.
Right.
So.
That's true. That's true. Right. Because it's like, well, I can forgive you, meaning I don't wish you any ill will. I'm not mad at the situation. I'm not mad at you. I accepted what happened.
Yeah.
I don't wish that things were different. I've chosen to learn from it, but I also understand that if I'm going to choose to learn from it, that means something has to change.
Yeah.
And since I can't change you,
Right.
right?
Yep.
I can only change me.
Yeah.
I can only change my behavior. I can change my interactions. And it may mean that it taught me that I lack something, maybe a boundary, right? Maybe I'm going to create new boundaries for me. They're not even about you, right?
Exactly.
It's about me. Like
That's
Miss Robin Bloom said, my boundaries are for me. And a lot of people think that they're for other people.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, y'all don't
Yeah.
know what I need, clearly. Right. But I have learned what I need and I have to do these things to protect myself.
Yeah.
And if I
Yeah.
see you as a person that constantly likes to cross over my boundaries, or every time I communicate a boundary, and the thing about when people communicate boundaries is people don't say, hey, here's my boundary. They just say, like, hey, don't call me after 10. Or,
Mhm.
if you're going to invite me somewhere, I need to know at least 2 days in advance, or I
Mhm.
need to know, or it got to be on the calendar. Right. But people who constantly try to go around your boundaries, because you didn't explicitly say it's a boundary, but it doesn't require that. You
Yeah.
already said what the standard was. Right?
Yeah.
People who don't respect your boundaries, they'll continue to try to manipulate them.
Mhm.
And when you see that, then you're like, you know what? Can't do it. And
Yeah.
they're like, what? Because I didn't do this? Yes, I've asked several times, and well, that's so minor. Exactly. And if you can't do something minor, then baby, I'd hate to see you with something major.
Right. With something huge. This is crazy.
I just think that that's really petty. Well, I think it's petty that you don't respect something so minor.
Right. And that's for you. Like you're saying that it's petty for you, but for me, this is important. So if you can't respect the importance for me, then that's a problem. Like that's problematic.
Exactly. You can only look at it through your lens. And because you classify it a certain way, even though I keep telling you that I don't,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And you decided that because you see it as insignificant, that it must be insignificant for me. Well, I don't create rules and things like that for no reason. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. The whole accountability piece and like you said, it's for me. And I think the forgiveness part too is for you. So you have to really do the process, like they said on Red Table Talks, of going through that process to forgive, because that's for you. That's what you need to continue on and to move forward. So for me, just being like, oh, okay, like all right, I'm over it now, or I'm done, and just kind of putting it to the side or burying it, like I have to deal with those things. That's a lot of stuff I'm working through to deal with. But yeah, that's important. Like you have to deal with the forgiveness pieces too, because that's for you.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is for you. It absolutely is. And one of the things that they brought up is that a lot of people think, like, oh, I don't want to think about it anymore. And it's like, well, you haven't forgotten,
Exactly.
you know, like it doesn't erase your memory.
Exactly.
And everything that happened you need so that you can evolve and learn and whatever. But a lot of people get hung up in like, oh, but it's still on my mind. That
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't forgive. I guess it depends on how it's on your mind and what. If it's like, oh, I can't stand that person, or I can't believe they did, then it's like, okay, well, maybe you haven't accepted it,
Right. Listen,
right? But that's also a process.
it is.
And unfortunately, that is the standard that we have set. Like if we see people that are still upset about something, we'll be like, girl, that happened a year ago. You
Mhm.
still talking about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You ain't let that go yet? Well, you hurry up and forgive because I want Uncle such and such to come over for Christmas dinner. So
Yeah.
hurry up and get them because they come to Christmas dinner, whether you comfortable with it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. Like just trying to rush you through that process
Yeah.
because it's not for them. So they have no idea like the toll that it's causing on you. And
Yeah.
that's for anything like, past relationships, past boyfriends who like, I'm sorry for hurting you. I didn't, that was not my intention, is what's always.
So when you was cheating,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
Lingo. That was
Yeah.
not my
When you kept lying about the cheating.
intention.
Okay. Right. Got it.
Mhm.
Right, but it wasn't your intention to hurt me, even though you knew that you would. That's why you lied about it.
Listen, because you
But you didn't
knew.
mean
You
it. Okay,
knew.
got
I
it.
wasn't planning for you to find out.
Exactly. Honestly, I would have more respect if, like, take that same situation. If the dude was like, "Look, I did.
I
I
did
did. I lied about it. I did it. I knew what I was doing. That's why I lied about it.
I'm a liar, a cheater, a
Right,
deceiver,
exactly.
a heartbreaker.
I thought I could get away with it.
Listen,
You know,
that'll save a
like,
lot of time
like own it. Stand in it and own it.
because this is yours, bro.
You
Just
know,
own it. Yeah.
here's the why. It still don't make it right. I'm not making no excuses, but here is the why.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
And you're owning it. Like, I'm a cheater. This is
right.
who I
You know,
am.
a girl from my past came up and turns out I'm actually in love with her.
Yeah.
Right. Just say that.
Right? Hey, whatever.
Mhm.
Own it.
So
'Cause
yeah.
it don't, the truth is what it is. So whether you say it or not, it doesn't diminish what it actually is.
Mm.
And the truth always comes out and it's revealed often through people's actions.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of times when people keep saying that they don't mean to do something, but they keep doing it, I'd be like, interesting.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Here we are yet again in
Yeah.
this very same situation that you don't mean, but
But
yet here we are.
But your behavior says otherwise. Listen, and that's essentially who you are. You keep doing the same stuff. That's you. You want to do it
Right.
at this point.
And then that's how it goes. So I'm not this person. You're not a cheater, but you keep cheating. Okay. Got it. Understood. Got it. Cool. What would you like to be called?
Hey, like, right. There are another term that I'm missing for what
You
this
can call
is.
it whatever you want, but again, just because you don't say it, it doesn't mean that it's not what it is. So you can call it whatever you would like.
Yep. That is hilarious and so true. But yeah, and with a lot of things, yeah, the people just, and I just keep thinking about what was said earlier, just how that's what we're supposed to do, that we're supposed to. This is something we're supposed to do. So I just keep thinking about that. Like, did we really ever learn the processes of forgiveness or what that looks like? I don't think I've ever learned that. And just,
Yeah.
because I think that is learned behavior now that we're talking about it. Like, that's something you have to learn and grow into.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
What process do you usually use?
So my process is like, oh, okay, like I will say I'm the people pleaser, so I'm just gonna be like, oh, okay, like I'm good, like I don't care, like I'm that person.
Right. So you're wanting the other person to think everything is cool because we're supposed to forgive.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
what we're supposed to do. Yeah. So that's my process. But now that we're having this conversation, it's like I need to do a little more for that because it's that healthy for my own well-being, and it's not, because I probably, more than likely, I really am salty about whatever it is. Like, I'm hurt by it,
Right.
but I just act like I'm not, because it's like, oh, I don't have time for this.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's good too that whoever it is that you are angry with, or whoever it is that pissed you off,
And that's somebody that done pissed you off.
You need to let them know.
I'm like, is you gonna cuss them out? Where are we going with this, mother? Are we what?
No, I'm just saying.
that's the Scorpio coming out.
Like, this is a family show. She like, I think what you need to do is. I'm like, oh, okay.
No, you need to
Nug if you buck.
you need to let that person know, because
Yeah.
that frees you. That frees
Mhm.
your mind. I mean, it's up to the other person what they do with what you said, but
Yeah.
it frees me. I mean, if I feel like I need to cuss you out and I know that's not the right thing to do, or, however it is, I'm going to verbalize it to you. And I don't want to be, somebody that's just going to cuss you out. But if I feel like after I have told you, this is how you made me feel, this is how whatever has happened, this is the effect that I have from it. You
Yeah.
explain to them how you feel about it, that's when I start to feel better. When I tell them how I feel, you made me mad, you made me angry, you made me feel like this. Now this is where we stand, since this happened, you kind of let them know how it affected you.
Yeah.
And that's when I started feeling better.
Mhm.
maybe that's part of your process, and it's part of probably the acceptance and the acknowledgement of like, okay, this is literally how I feel.
Mhm.
And the only issue that I have with that, and I agree with you 100%. The only issue that I have with that is 9 times out of 10 the person flips it on you. 9 times out of 10 when you bring someone, because people are naturally kind of defensive,
Yeah.
right? So whenever you tell somebody that they wronged you or they did something to you, either they try to scapegoat it. It wasn't me. I didn't do that. That was such and such. Or I only did this because such and such made it look like this. So that's why, I'm not wrong. Right. Is really what they're saying. I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
Or they'll be like, well, you did this to me. And it's like, are we even talking about is that
Right.
relevant right now? Maybe you did, right? Maybe whatever they're saying is actually true, right? But it's like, are you bringing up something 6 months ago when I'm bringing you up something that just happened right now? And it's like, you can talk to me about whatever happened 6 months ago. You probably should have did it 6 months ago, but whatever. Maybe do it a week from now. Like, let's work through this. Because remember
Yeah.
when I told you, I think it was the last episode where I was like, a lot of times when people hurt you, the focus is actually on them. Like, oh, you're sorry, so I should forgive you.
Mhm.
Right. And then I'm trying to tell you what you did, and now you're flipping they'll flip the switch on you. I
Yeah.
saw a post the other day and it was like, ain't it crazy how when people have consequences for their actions, they get upset with you for giving them consequences and make you out to be the bad guy?
Yep. It's crazy.
Like, I can't believe you broke up with me. I
Like,
can't believe you cheated on me. I broke up with you because you cheated on me, and you are devastated and can't believe that I broke up with you.
listen,
Well, I don't know what to do here.
you up in arms. Listen, like what? Yeah.
Right.
That's
I
yeah.
can't believe they fired me. Well, you kept coming in late. Where did they get off? And F that job and da, 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 everything I did for them. Stop coming in late and you wouldn't have gotten fired.
Listen.
Like these are actually pretty predictable outcomes
To your
to
action.
your actions.
Period.
You sowed the seed for the firing. You sowed the seed for the breakup.
It's crazy.
Like you actually are like, this is your manifestation of your actions. This is where it got you.
And that is
They flip it on you.
Yeah.
Well, you're not loyal. Oh, I'm not loyal, but you cheated?
yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool. And that's why I posted something the other day and it was like, sometimes you just need to let people have a wrong opinion of you because it ain't worth it. Okay, I'm not loyal because I decided to leave you because you were not fulfilling your duty as whatever your title was. Okay.
Mhm.
You went against the loyalty of the relationship.
Yeah.
And now because I decided to leave it, because you already left it, but you still saying that it's here.
And
You
make
already
it make
outside,
sense.
right?
Like,
So okay,
yeah.
okay, yep, I'm disloyal. Thanks.
Yeah,
Are we
I'll
done
be
here?
there.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be whatever you need me to be to make this make sense for you in your head. That is fine because it
Listen,
ain't worth it. Because
it's
what they want you to do is, oh no, well, no, we ain't about to keep going around in circles. I'm 35. Okay, I don't have time for this.
whew, girl. yeah.
I'm loyal. I'm wrong. I should have did. Okay, cool. Never mind all the seeds that you sowed that got us here. Never mind any of that. Fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
You cut me off. You did this. I did all those.
Yep, I did. Yep. We agree.
Yeah, we agree that
Right.
I'm everything.
We agree. I did.
There
Good day. Are we done here? What do I have to say to get off the phone?
Man,
What do I have to say to get out of your presence? Because that's the goal.
that is the whole part. Man, that's something where I'm like, that might be like how you hate, like we don't hate, but how people when they feign ignorance is like really grinds your gears. That's mine. Like, don't bring up something when I'm trying to tell you how I feel, and then you want to bring up something at the same time. Cause it's very hard for me to even get to that point to be like, okay, this is how I feel, X, Y, Z. So if I got to that point to say it,
yes,
like, oh, well, you did this to me 2 weeks ago, I'm gonna be like,
listen,
like what?
listen. I'm right there with you because it's difficult for me too. So if I bring that to you and say it, and you gonna dismiss it, disrespect it, not honor it, and then flip the switch, like flip the tables on me,
Lord.
I've lost respect for you at this point.
Yeah. Because I'm like, dog, say something. Like, you should have said this 2 weeks ago. Right now, we're talking about me. Like, I don't even care
Right.
what you just said. Like, sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry. Like,
It's like there's no respect to the fact that, hey, this person is hurting right now. They're expressing how they feel. Number one, I should not try to gaslight them
yeah. Oh, yeah, we talked about that.
because that's manipulation,
Mm-hmm.
right? I should not try to tell them that their feelings are not valid.
Mm-hmm.
I should not try to make excuses. Let me just, if I can't do anything else, let me at least just hear them.
Yeah,
Listen to
that
them,
part. Mm-hmm.
right?
And that's all. I feel like that's a lot of it. And we've
It
probably
is.
talked about this before, but the ability to communicate. And a large part of communication is being able to listen and to take it in and to, evaluate what's being said. And a lot of people don't want to do the listening part. Like, you just want to be heard and get your point across, but you have to listen too. Like, it's so
As
important.
soon as somebody says something, they got to come back. And it's
Yeah.
like, I have a lot more respect for people who take the time to ask questions like, oh, and how did it make you feel like that? Or I'm confused about you feeling that way.
Mhm.
Right? Because I would have thought that, something to give you room to fully explain so that y'all can get on the same page, even if they disagree, but at least they understand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't agree with it, but at least you understand it.
Yeah, and that's huge. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a large part of it. But
Yeah.
that's one where I'm just like, don't you dare do that. Like, you're not gonna tell me what's on your mind, and I'm trying to tell you what I need to say. Like, no thanks. This is out. But yeah, so just in talking about forgiveness, this is funny. So I don't know if you all, well, y'all probably didn't see it because y'all been living y'all best life in LA. So I hope y'all haven't been in the hotel watching TV because that's out. But I watched this movie on Netflix called From Scratch. So I ain't gonna tell you about the movie, but the point is, like, they needed to forgive the husband's family because they did not like the wife or whatever. But yeah, like, just through that story has like shown me forgiveness in a different way. And I'm just like, yeah, like, really trying to understand. And I think a lot of what we talked about tonight is just getting an understanding and processing it, and then people standing on whatever they did. And I think a lot of that happened in that film where I was just like, wow, like, it was cool to see that play out like that, even if it was something so like hurtful, like what happened in the movie, but really getting some perspective and understanding, and then people standing on why they behaved the way that they behaved. I think that is a huge part. So when we talk about processes, I think that has to be a part of it. Like, you have to own and stand on whatever you did and make it be known, like, if I'm apologizing, then here's my next steps of changed behavior, and this is what it's going to look like. Because that's another thing, like, you apologize and then people are still doing the same stuff to you. Like, that's...
Well, that means you're not sorry.
And you're not sorry. Exactly.
Yes,
You're not sorry at all. Because I see that in my class. Them kids be hitting each other. They'll be like, oh, I'm sorry for hitting you. And then 5 minutes later, they hauling off and hitting the kid again. I'm like, bro, you just... Like, come on. Like, keep your hands off. So it's just like, oh my gosh, definitely the changed behavior. So me trying to, again, talk to the children, like, all right, like, you have to play with friends who, want to be good friends to you. They don't put their hands on you and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, okay. But it's just like, no, you got to change your behavior. And that's a whole lot of it, is the change behavior and the owning of what you've done. Like, don't act confused, like, oh, I didn't do that. Or again, that was not my intention. Because it don't matter what your intentions were. This is how I feel at this point.
Yeah. I think when we offend people, it actually gives us a chance to get to know them on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because then you get to have an understanding of why it was, especially if you don't think it's offensive.
Yeah.
Like, let's just say that it's really not your intention. You really didn't think that it would be offensive. Like, you get to learn so much more about them. If you actually listen,
yeah,
you get to understand the offense.
Yeah.
Right? Because just because it wouldn't be offensive to you doesn't mean that it's okay for you to do.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's like, just like how some friends call each other the B word. Hey, B.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And then they might do it to somebody else and the girl be like, yeah, that ain't cool.
Yeah.
Right? But then if you keep doing it, then she gonna be like, listen.
Yeah, like, I'm not kicking it with y'all. Like, this is
right, exactly.
This is not what we're doing.
Oh no, well, I mean it in love. Okay, well, I don't. I mean it in disrespect. So call me one, and I'm gonna call you one back, and I'm gonna mean exactly what I said the way I said it. Okay, them is fighting words.
Oh my gosh, yes, disrespectfully, okay? Like, do you hear me? Because that's out. Yeah, I don't get that either. I don't get it at all. Now, nigga is another one, but
No,
wait, but I'm
term of endearment.
exactly. But some people might be like, you don't say that, but
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and people have split views on it, right? But I don't just go around calling everybody niggas. No, I don't do that. Y'all here doing that? You know, that mean like you have to have a certain level of closeness.
for fact, for sure. Oh my god, that made me think about Ryan email. That was funny.
Oh my god. Oh
No,
goodness.
so now on Twitter, like it's been an influx of the N word and not nigga, but strong ER on Twitter. So I'm like,
Oh no, really?
yeah, like 500% like influx. Like it's been crazy.
Shut up.
Yeah,
Really?
it's been crazy. So yeah, but yeah, that's it's all about whatever process you have for forgiveness. But I can no longer, and I'm speaking for myself, but just thinking about it, like I really have to learn how to accept, that I need to work on forgiving myself for things that I've done, or just even more recently of things that I've done where I just really like let it fester inside of me and not really trying to put the pieces together, just trying to move on. But forgiveness is so essential to your mental health, I think, because you hold on to stuff and you're like, well, this person did me wrong and woe is me. And it really starts to settle in and it could turn into depression or, whatever. In my case, like eating junk food, like eating stuff I know I'm supposed to be eating, like it turns into something else. So really being able to forgive for whatever the case may be. So I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I think that my disdain with folks and myself feigning ignorance, I think it's because it sort of suggests that there's no work to be done.
Yeah.
Like people be like, "Oh, I didn't mean it," or "I didn't know." Then the thought is like, "Oh, well, now they know, or they ain't mean it, so now they know better, so they ain't gonna do it again." So then when you do it again, like the hurt is on a different level.
Yep.
Because you know that it was already done.
Yep.
And you already let it go because you was like, "Oh no, they ain't mean it," right?
Yep. But it's like, but they said it, so I mean, you meant to say it because you said it. So
right, like
that's the hard part. And
right.
I've been, to be honest, I've been on the other side too, where I've said things where I'm just like, oh shit, like I really didn't mean that. Like I didn't mean to say that. Oops, I'm sorry, Mama Barbara. But I didn't mean to say it. But just me just talking reckless often where I'm just like, okay, I probably shouldn't have said that, or I should have said it in a different way. So I've been on the other side as well. But then again, it comes with that, if you're going to take accountability for it, to be like, okay, well, I know this hurt you, what I said. So let me, in talking, watch what I say. Like I really have to put a filter on, or I have to be mindful of what I'm saying because I don't want to hurt your feelings or I don't want to offend you. And that's being accountable. Like I have to be aware of me and the person now with the relationship that we have to know, like, in our friend group, I know I would never call any of you all the B word because we don't roll like that. Like that's not what we do. Or just being mindful of things that if you all tell me something, it's like, I'm not about to blab it all around the world. Like, no, just shut up. But there are friends who they go talk to the next friend or the next friend, but it's just like, no, like, shut up. Like you really have to be mindful of the things that you said or that you're going to say. So I think that's being accountable. And a lot of people, they don't know the accountability piece for themselves yet, or they don't own up to it. But I feel like I have to be accountable because like I don't want it coming back to me like, well, Chanel said this about you and she did this. And no, like, nuh-uh. I'm gonna be accountable for the things that I say.
Yeah. It's the accountability, child.
It absolutely, it has to be the accountability because And people have to be mindful of that. And I feel like a lot of people aren't mindful of it. They just do whatever because it's like, oh, well, that's me. And I had to get out of that too. Like, okay, this could be you, but you still have to be mindful of how other people feel and their emotions to it.
Exactly. So on Red Table Talk, Jada was there with Will's ex-wife,
Okay.
right? And they talked about how they had to navigate through forgiveness to co-parent, right? And Jada was saying how I cannot love Jaden if I don't love his mother.
Mm.
Like that's not gonna work,
Yeah.
right? Because he's literally a part of her, right? And there was a point where Will's ex-wife, I think her name is Cherie.
Yeah, Cherie.
Okay. She like starts crying. Jada's talking and she just like bursts into tears. And she was like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And she was like, "This just hit me." And she was like, "My son," actually, not Jaden, Trey. Trey is
Trey is the
the
oldest
son.
boy.
Yeah, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "Oh my God, I do this to Trey all the time." Because what you just said just made me think about it. How you're like, "Oh, well, that's just me."
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. She was saying how she would be like, how he told her this one day, like, "You don't give me room to feel."
Mm.
Right? And she was like, "'Cause that's how she was raised. That's how she was taught." So she was like kind of pushing that on him.
Yeah.
Like, all right, get up, like, all right, move on. What's next? Like,
Mm-hmm.
no explanation, no nothing. But it's like, okay, he's a child, but he's a human being.
Yeah.
He has feelings and emotions, right? And so it's like, do we allow children even the opportunity to process, or because we over it, they should be over it?
Ooh, child. Yes, that's
Right.
definitely.
And that's the other thing,
Ooh.
right? Like, and that's what they say too. You know how they be like, "Oh, if you go through something with your spouse, don't tell all your friends because you might be over it, but they ain't."
Mm-hmm. That is so true. Yeah. And that's hard for me, especially when it comes to my friends. Like, if y'all tell me like a dude did something to you, he is out. Like, I'm so done.
I mean, out.
Do you
Immediately out. She'll be like, "I already unfollowed him, and I'm gonna log in as you, and you're gonna unfollow him too." And you'd be like, "What? But I'm not there yet. I haven't accepted." She'd be like, "Nah, he out. It's a no."
So
Yeah.
y'all don't tell me nothing bad until you like know for sure that he is out of your
You're
life.
like, "Virtual besties ain't following him neither," and I'd be like, "Oh, okay."
Because I'd be so out. Like, how dare you?
She'd be like, "And if I could write a review."
I totally would write a review. But no, that is hard with, when you have kids, and me being the type where I'm just like, I'm gonna bury it. So I'm glad JR, he does express himself when he needs to, like he tries, and then I try to like understand and have the conversation with him. I think when I was growing up, and shout out to my mom, that we just didn't talk about a lot of that stuff. It was just like, okay, well, I'm doing it by myself, so we just got to keep going. We got to keep moving. We don't have time to kind of stop and wallow in self-pity or none of that, because we got bills, so we got to keep going. So just allowing myself the opportunity to hear JR out, like if he is feeling some type of way, like I do want to make sure that I hear him, because I don't want to be that parent where it's just like, well, you a boy, like you can't show no emotions, like man up. But it's like, he not a man, he's just a kid right now. So I need to allow him to be able to express himself. And even if he was a grown man, like he still should be able to, express himself in whatever way. So that I'm, again, very aware and trying to hold myself accountable to that. But it is hard because I was not raised that way.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. No, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I try to I find myself like with my niece, when she'll like have something, like it have an emotion. Sometimes she'll misunderstand it because she's a child, right? And I'll be like, "Oh no, that's not what this is." But then I'll be like, "Oh wait, she's feeling right now."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'd be like, "Oh, okay, and why are you upset?" Like I'll just kind of try to talk her through it. But my initial reaction is like, or sometimes I'll be like, "You just did this to such and such 5 seconds ago. You don't see that these are the same?" But it's like, no, she doesn't. She's 5, right?
It's a 5-year-old brain.
Different. Those were ponies. These are Barbies.
Exactly.
Okay? One can be shared, one cannot.
Totally different. Okay.
Right?
That is so funny. Or yeah, same with JR.
Or sometimes we dismiss kids' emotions if we don't think that they're valid.
Period.
Right? Like if we're like if a child is like, no, I don't want you to play with this toy and they cry, we'll be like, we'll take it from them and be like, give it to the other child and be like, you gonna learn to share. Okay, well, that's actually not teaching them to share.
Yeah, that's teaching them to be a pushover. Like I can let you do whatever you want to me and somebody's going to back that up and that's okay.
Exactly. Right. And like sharing is her having the freedom
Yeah, to
to
choose.
say, here you go, you can have it. Like you can explain to her what sharing is and what if she were the other child and, give her some perspective, but ultimately the choice is her.
There. Yeah. Yeah. I spend a lot of time, especially at recess, doing that with my class right now. And they're always like, well, this person don't want to play with me. And like maybe when I first started teaching, I would be like, oh, like I would call the other kids over, like, you got to play with them, like just make them play with each other. But now, 10-year teaching me is like, no, like this person don't want to play with you and they don't have to right now. And that's okay. And I'll like find another friend that wants to play with you right now because it's our other friends out here. So use your words and say, hey, do you want to play with me? And I'll make them go around and ask everybody. And eventually somebody's like, yeah, I'll play with you. Like, come on. And it's just like,
Right.
no, like you can't just force people to do what you want them to do. Cause then, like you said, like, what are we teaching them? Like,
And then don't let them dare start crying. Stop all that crying.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. It's so, the times have changed. I even remember being in elementary school and like, girl, why are you crying? Like, dry those tears, cheer up, buttercup, like all of those things.
Mhm.
It's like, no, I'm sad. Like, you don't know what happened. Like, my grandma probably just died. I'm in here crying. You talking about
Right,
some
exactly. Yeah.
like, nah. So yeah, but I mean, all of those things translates into how we are as adults. Like we don't have time to stop and process things in the way that we should because I feel like early on with schooling, like a lot of that is taken away from us.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, at least now I feel like the kids in the upcoming generation might be a little better with this gentle parenting and all that stuff. So, but I feel like for us, it was just like, girl, come on, why are you crying?
Yep. Exactly. And you learn a lot from asking. Like
Yeah.
my niece, like sometimes she'll get into her little fits, and I'll be like, "Oh, see, I'm trying to talk to your granny." Da da da. Da. Well, Titi, I miss you. And I'm like, "Oh, you miss your
Yeah.
Titi." Okay, well, I'm gonna talk to Granny for 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, understand what the issue is,
Yep.
right?
And
Because you just think you just in your mind, you're like, you just being a disrespectful child, right? But then it's like, oh no, she's saying, I'm excited that you're here, right? In my mind, because I'm 5, you came to see me.
Yeah,
Is
period.
everything about me because I'm 5, right? You really just came to drop something off.
Listen, it is my world.
Exactly. So, but it's like, but once you understand that, then it's like you can use your words to explain to them, like, okay, well, let me talk to Granny for 5 minutes and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna play with you, but it can only be for this long because I really gotta go, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah.
TT miss you too. Right. So I'm gonna make some time, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna read you a story, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? But something so that you understand why they're even acting the way that they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And kids are so resilient too. Like they just, and that's sometimes something that I'm like, wow, I wish I could bottle like all of this kid like resiliency and energy up because kids are different. But it's good to let them be whoever they are in that moment. Just like, how we talked about pets, like dogs are just whoever they are. Ain't no
Listen,
leeway with them or anything. This is me. This is who I am.
tell them 10 times, don't lick me. Okay.
No.
And they like, yeah, I don't
But
know what boundaries are.
at all.
And I don't give no F, okay?
At all. Boundaries. Like, what does that mean? Like, that's not
But
a
I'll
word
be like, no, you gonna learn today.
at this
No,
moment. 'Cause
right.
that's out. But yeah, I love that. So yeah, just teaching kids. And I think, we'll have better adults in the future. But again, I think the adults now with the awareness, I think that's good for everybody. I'm glad that there was a whole show about toxic forgiveness. There's labels to it, there's definitions for it. So now we know. I think that's important.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, um, for me, sometimes I'll tell myself, like, okay, like if I feel like I'm not forgiving, I'd be like, what do I need
Mm,
to forgive? So then I'll try to think, okay, have I done something like this? Or like, can I imagine, something to kind of put myself in it
Mm.
to see if I can get there faster or get some different perspective. Or sometimes it is about just getting to the acceptance part.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't like it, right? But I do accept it.
Yeah.
And I think what helps me a lot when I can get there, because it's not always instant, but feeling like that person altered something in your life,
Mm.
right? Like feeling like your life would be different or better if they wouldn't have done or said or did or whatever. Right? Whereas like, oh, if my dad wouldn't have been on drugs, maybe my life would be better. Right?
Mm.
Like that was my original thought.
Yeah.
Like, well, if he wasn't, I wouldn't be who I am, right? Because I wouldn't have the drive. I would probably be a pretty mediocre person, right? Who knows? Who knows? The thing is that we always think that we can change one variable and
Yeah.
that something else would change, but that's not true. If you change one thing, you actually alter everything.
Yeah.
Like I love when they do episodes like that. There was one on Steve Urkel where they like went back in time in a time machine and um he would I think it was Carl who just wanted to change like one thing, but it impacted everything.
Yeah.
And you don't get to choose what gets impacted.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that's what I have to tell myself is like, you think that this thing that they did had such a big impact, and maybe it does right now today, but you can control the impact by how you respond. Right. So, no, you can't prevent the impact. The impact is here, but you can try to control it going forward now that you know what you know, if you choose to accept it.
Mm.
If you
That's
wallow in it, right, then the impact is what it is.
it. Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
And you can choose how you respond. So stop letting this person or this thing have this impact if it keeps happening. Stop letting it happen
Mhm.
because that's fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me.
Okay.
I keep giving room for you to have significant impact and you keep doing it in a negative way, then that's on me.
That is so good. Yeah.
So
And
with that, we should get to our to-go box. So Bestie, what are you going to take away from today's episode?
I'm definitely taking away the process. Like I need to figure out what my process is going to look like moving forward in forgiveness. Oh God, my son is real loud. And what that's going to look like for me as I move
I
forward.
didn't mean it. I'm just playing.
Listen, he didn't intend to be so loud. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to learning what the process is going to look like and staying true to the process and being accountable to myself that I need to follow the process. I think that's what I'm taking away today.
That's good. Mother, birthday lady, what
Hey.
are you taking away from the episode?
Well, let me see. I think that forgiving is definitely a process.
Mhm.
Some process, well, for some people, it could be a while. For some people, it could be quick, depending on the circumstances. I just think that people that have hurt you or people that have made you angry or whatever, they need to, like she was saying, they need to be accountable. They need to maybe put themselves in your shoes and kind of understand how you felt about what it is they did or what it is that they said. They need to be accountable for what they've done.
Mm, that's good.
I think for me, you know what my first lady said this one time on one of her on her 30-day devotionals. She was like, they did mean it. They not sorry, still forgive them. Right?
Okay.
Because sometimes that's what it comes down to. Sometimes for them, they really don't see the error, right? Because maybe it's cool for them, whatever happened. And if they could do it again, they probably do it again.
That part.
I think that for me, it's about being accountable for what I can be accountable for.
Mm.
Because everybody's not going to take accountability, unfortunately, right? So it's about being accountable to what I can be accountable for, and I can be accountable for how I choose to interact with people, and I can be accountable for how for believing people when they show me things,
Mhm.
right? And even when you see people do stuff to other people, a lot of times and I do this a lot. Oh, they wouldn't do me like that, child. When they get the opportunity, yes, they will.
Okay.
Like my mom used to say, and I don't know, maybe Uncle George used to tell you this, like, pay attention to how people treat you when they're mad. at
Yeah.
you when they're angry. The words that they say, the curses that they will speak over your life, calling your names, this, that, and the third, right? Because that shows everything. Because that's how you really feel. That's So I think for me, it's just about being accountable for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the only thing that I can control.
Amen.
And like you said, Chanel, just being true to the process because forgiveness is for me. It is ultimately for me. And if the person is waiting on forgiveness, like, child, you forgiven. That's done.
Okay.
I might still be healing.
Right. Oh, you scared me.
And like I said, a lot of times I can get to forgiveness once I get to acceptance. Usually, if I'm like, oh, I wish that wouldn't have happened, then to me, that's like a sign that I haven't forgiven.
Yep.
Because I still wish things would have been different.
Indeed. Yep. That's good.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to Brunch with Besties. Until next time, heal.
Heal.